welcome. My name is Marta and today I'm starting what I'm hoping will become a little series here which is called, as you saw, Rainbow Recs, in which I recommend LGBTQIA plus books and the colours of the rainbow, sort of. So today we're starting with violet, but it's also purple and lilac, and I will be discussing some books that I've read, and also I'll throw in a couple that I haven't gotten to yet but I am really excited for. I wanted to wear some purple for the video, but then realised I don't own a single item of clothing, so I went for the stripy, colourful, rainbowy vibe instead. In today's video I'm going to be talking mostly about young adult books, but that was a coincidence, and also we'll have some ace representation, some sapphic, some trans. It's going to be great. Let's start. This is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, which is the bisexual teen book of my dreams. I read this last year I think and really enjoyed it. And this is about Liz, who wants to go to a really prestigious university but can't afford to, so she starts running for prom queen in her high school because the prom queen gets a big scholarship, so she'll be able to afford it. So this running for prom queen makes her have to partake in a lot of different activities and commitments and events that aren't really her thing, but she's doing it because she needs to. She's really hardworking, really, forceful, sassy character, and you love to root for her. And all of these things that she's going through this year are made easier because a new girl comes into school. Her name's Mac, and you might guess what's gonna happen with them. So overall, this is a very joyful story. As it says on the back, it's a smart, hilarious, black girl magic rom-com. And I couldn't agree more. Next, this is Loveless by Alice Oseman. Probably might have heard of Alice Oseman because of Heartstopper. I did also read Heartstopper first, and this is my first novel by Alice that I've read. And I'm excited to get to the other ones, but for now, Loveless. Loveless is about Georgia, who is starting her first year in university, and throughout the novel, Georgia will discover and come to terms with the fact that she's both asexual and aromantic, which is something that will allow her to put a name to something that she's been feeling for years, but she just didn't know that it came with, it had a label for it if she wanted, and it came with a whole lot of community around it. And this, because is the character sort of figuring out her sexuality, it has a lot of coming out, what am I trying to say? Coming of age vibes. It also has a lot of fun family elements because Georgia has a couple of friends that she already knew that she's coming to uni with, but she also meets a couple of new friends, especially her roommate, which I can't remember her name, but was one of my favorite characters, who's also doing some figuring out of her own. This is, I think, the first book I've read with asexual and aromantic representation, and I'm really excited to find more, well, I know there are more, but to read more and to just as it has happened with every other part of the community, to sort of broaden the scope of what it means to be ace. Also, in some parts of this book I was almost frustrated with Georgia because you can see that she has people and she has community around her who will embrace her, but she, keeps taking detours almost, and she's always loved love, so she goes to university with the idea of finding love, having her first relationship, and it just letting go of that and finding that love it's not just romantic love. It can be a little come on girl, please figure it out, but everyone has their own pace and you have to be patient with everyone's journey, even a book character's one. Next is Pet by Akwaeke Emezi, which is not really purple, but it sort of is. Also, I know the hardcover version is mostly purple, so I'm counting it. This is Akwaeke Emezi's young adult debut, and it's a story about Jam, who is a trans girl who is selective non-verbal, which is a thing that is explored throughout the novel, with different types of the letters are different to show that she's communicating in different ways, which is cool. And Jam lives in Lucille, which is sort of a utopia, which I think is supposed to be in the United States. And in Lucille, there are no more monsters. They were banished, and now there aren't any. or are there? And so this book deals with some really hard topics such as child abuse, like sexual assault, and also with like the trust in the system. Like, how do you denounce something when everyone is saying that that is not a real thing, that that doesn't exist? And it's like, to me, this is it's young adult, but it has this like mythical vibe to it, like in the writing and in the world building, and I just feel like it can be truly enjoyed at any age. I mean, that's true with every young adult book, I feel like, but this one especially. And this one as well for me has just like a timeless feeling to it. Like, I read it a couple years back, but I feel like I could read it time and time again over the years and it would never lose this like thing that it has, like this energy that it has at its core. I don't really know how to explain it. And plus now, this year, the prequel was released, which is called Bitter and follows Jam's mother. And as well as Jam being a trans girl, Jam's best friend, Redemption, has 3 parents. I think in the story they're labeled as his mother, his dad, and his parent, which is also really cool. I'm gonna continue with some books I don't physically own but I have read, and that will allow me to talk about one of my favourite books so far this year, which is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake is a adult romance novel about Delilah Green and Claire. So Delilah Green's a photographer. She's sort of estranged from her stepmom and her stepsister, but she's asked to come back to her small town because of her stepsister's wedding, and so to photograph it and to also, you know, be there. And this sort of unearths a lot of buried feelings because she's been avoiding them for such a long time. They have been avoiding her. So this is of course a romance, but it's much more than that. The romance is amazing. I loved Delilah's and Claire's relationship, even though they keep saying they're just having sex when they're falling in love. I really liked how it explores familial relationships, how it's much more complicated than just trying to make their like individual relationship work. Also, Claire has a young daughter and the dad of her daughter is still in their lives, so you know there's a lot going on. So it felt complex, but it was also funny and heartwarming, and I adored it. I'm so excited because we're getting Delilah's stepsister's book next, which is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, is coming out in November. Ashley Herring Blake is getting us fed and I couldn't be more excited. So yeah, let me calm down. Next, in a really different tone, is I'm Afraid of Man by Vivek Shreya. Vivek is a trans woman, and in this book she explores what that has meant throughout her life, how masculinity has been imposed on her, and how we can sort of like redefine and understand gender in different ways. This is like sort of memoir, sort of essay-ish, and in it she uses different relationships she's had to sort of put these really different like ideas of masculinity on the table and to discuss them, and to show like how much it can hurt everyone to have this, you know, overarching idea of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. It is short, but it's gut punching, it is powerful, and I would recommend it to anyone and everyone, because thinking about gender is something we should all be doing, honestly. So these are the books that I've read and wanted to talk about, but let me throw in a couple of other suggestions that I think I'm gonna really like, and maybe you would too. And so the first one is Spinning by Tilly Walden. This is a graphic memoir about Tilly's like coming of age, coming out, you know, figuring out her sexuality, and it's all in the context of ice skating, which is what she did as a teen. And honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of graphic memoirs, or at least I haven't found one yet that, you know, truly captures me and that I love. But I'm really excited for this one. I really like Tilly's illustration style, and I'm excited to pick up one of her memoirs because I haven't yet, but there's a few that look so good to me. And so I think this one might be, you know, my chance with graphic memoirs. Also the illustration style is in purplish tones and white, and it just looks great. Next, a very different book, but it is Vida Sackville-West's and Virginia Woolf's love letters to each other. These were compiled in a really small book with an introduction by Alison Bechtel, and I'm just really excited to read them. They were both great writers. I haven't read anything by Vida Sackville-West yet. I've read one Virginia Woolf, but has real life, you know, historical sapphics to read about. I just think it's gonna be great, and I feel like it would be such a good book to just, you know, tip in and out of, and it would give you such a like a good feeling to go on with your day. I don't know, but I am really interested in reading it. And then finally, another young adult book is The Stars and the Blackness Between Them by Junauda Petrus. This one, honestly, I found out about it, I feel like years ago at this point, and I have never picked it up. But every time I'm like, I see it around, I'm like, oh, I really want to read that, but it hasn't happened yet. So this is about two teenagers, two black girls, and I think it happens like it's between the United States and Trinidad, and it's just their love story, and I think it deals with some harder topics. I think there might be, let me check, but I think there might be like some illness in it. I should come more prepared to these videos. Sorry, I'm a beginner. So yes, this does deal with illness. I'm not sure about the outcome, honestly, but yeah, it says that it happens between Trinidad and Minneapolis, and I think the girl that's from Trinidad moves to the United States and they fall in love, and yeah, I think it might be told in like dual perspective, which is something that I'm always like curious about. I guess I'm not giving you much of a synopsis, but that's how much I know. I still want to read it. So yeah, this has been the first Rainbow Rex. I hope you found something new that maybe you're interested in. If you have any other purple queer books that I don't know about, maybe you can leave them down there. You can leave purple emojis around. Yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!